Happy New Year and happy holidays. We're look forward to how we can help the parts department in the city to continue to enhance the parts here in Little Rock. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Mahogany. Start with roll call, please.
Chairman France,
Present.
Vice Chair Firstel,
Here.
Commissioner Samuel Ellis, Commissioner Cannon Fletcher,
Present.
Commissioner Mike Bernardo,
Here.
Commissioner Ron Barra, Commissioner Summer Campbell, Commissioner Shamia Woods, Commissioner Quincy Grant, Commissioner Quentin Whiteside,
Present.
City Director Cappy Peck, City Director Andrea Lewis, City Director BJ Wyrick,
Hello. Vice Mayor, can you sure
Vice Mayor, can you speak into the mic?
microphone down? Just there.
Thank you.
City Attorney Simone Black,
Present.
there are 7 commissioners present. That should establish a quorum.
That does. Thank you. And welcome, Vice Mayor Wyrick. We're glad to have you. Our next agenda item is in the packet. You have minutes from both November and December, and wanted to see if we can get a motion to approve those minutes. Motion to approve by Summer Campbell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Cannon Fletcher. Okay. Can we vote on the approval of the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. Do we have any citizens here for communication? I think I see one. How are you? Please, if you don't mind stating your name and your purpose and if anything else you want to talk about.
Okay, I'm Ryan Pruitt. Live here in Little Rock. I was honestly knew y'all were meeting, and I don't think y'all heard enough. Thank you for all you do. I went to Boyle Park at the end of last year and loved it. I think we were looking for ways to build resiliency in our kids. I saw a kid just crash so hard off the side of one of the, what do you call them, the raised wood things, and he cried for like 5 minutes, and then he got back up and tried again. If I were going to pitch anything, I'm not just here always to talk about the park we're trying to do in Walton Heights, but we've been geocaching. I ran into Quentin actually out there. I would love, and I'm putting myself out there to kind of help. My next iron in the fire for this year is some sort of geocaching program to rediscover the Little Rock Parks and Recreation. And anyway, you'll be hearing about me every month from here on out. Just kind of like I want to sit down with Leland, of course, beforehand, but that's something I just wanted to put out there for y'all to think about. But thank you for all you do. Don't say it enough, but Boyle Park is legit. Thank you.
I have one comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, I just want to share with you about geocaching. A previous Parks employee that was here for over 40 years, Jim Sick, was our maintenance manager. He was really big into geocaching, and I believe he still has probably tons of them, or I know he does, throughout the parks. And so offline, we should connect, and I'll give you his information.
Exactly. Sounds good. I'll put forth my whole program and PowerPoint at some point, but that's it for now. Thank y'all.
Ryan, I appreciate your passion. It seems like for Little Rock Parks. We appreciate you guys coming and talking about everything about the park in Walton Heights and the good comments on Boyle Park. So we appreciate that. Okay. Leland, do you want to go ahead and get started, or do me ask if anyone, any comments on any of the department's reports? Okay. In your packet, you have reports for the month for operations, HR, finance, payroll, as well as public and recreation safety and recreation report as well. So, any questions for any of the department heads that are here? I don't think Justin is here, but any other questions for Shawanda, Angela, or Courtney, or if you have any general questions about maintenance operations, I'm sure someone can answer it besides Justin. So. Hey, Angela, I just had a question on, you have about 21 vacancies across the park. Is that a lot? Is that about average?
Right now, that seems to be like a steady number.
Okay.
I believe at one point, we may have had maybe 30
Yeah.
at some point. So we are making some progress. Brittany, of course, has left us, and we have a youth program coordinator that is now open. So we're just trying to, stay above and just try to make sure we get some people in those positions. And we do have some positions that are advertising. So to me, it is making progress.
Okay. Thank you. That's great. Hey, Shawanda, in your report about, I was just curious on the Gym Daily Fitness memberships. You said in December you guys sold 1729. Is that total memberships, or did you guys actually sell 1,700 memberships?
That was just for the month of December.
Is that the total memberships you have?
No, that's just for the month of December.
Oh, wow. So what's usually the total memberships at a given point, and what's the average, I guess, throughout the year? You don't have to be just a guesstimate. I'm just curious because selling 700 members, that seems like a lot to me, selling 1,700 memberships.
Yeah, it fluctuates around 1,000 a month.
Okay.
Each month times 12. So
Yeah. Okay. Anyone have any other comments, questions for any of the reports? Shawanda has a question. Yeah, Shawanda, do you have something?
I put this flyer on the table for you guys. Just want to invite you to the Therapeutic Recreation Branch Out, which is doing awards and viewing party. Each year they do a Christmas play, and it was awesome. So if you guys are not busy tomorrow at 10 o'clock, please join us back here for the awards and viewing ceremony of that play. They do record it, and it's for all of our adults and kids with disabilities.
Thank you. If there are no other staff report questions, I'm going to turn it over to Leland to talk about his report.
Okay, good afternoon. Because of what we have on the agenda, and we discussed end of last year, I'm here to present on the budget for the department. I'll give a kind of a snippet out of the budget document that the board approved. So the whole document is roughly 100 pages, and I think I have about 15 pages to go over. So if Mahogany, if you could start with the budget. This document is actually the document that I have access to. That was actually the one that was right before it was finally approved at the end of the year. But it will give you a point of view for or reference for what the numbers are for the department. And please stop me at any time if you have any questions. So next slide. We'll kind of go through these fast, Mahogany. So. Next slide. So these are just some policy statements from the board of directors. You can see their must-dos, and then where we fall in line under there, we have a lot in there from Safe City, economic development, all these, don't get me wrong, but we're also in the bottom, quality of life under should do statements. Next slide. These are the core values from the mayor's office. I can go through those, but that's a whole nother presentation, but just to show you, those are the values that the city of Little Rock has today. Next slide. These are some of the bigger factors that are played into the budget preparation. Obviously, sales tax, union negotiations. There's a bunch of different things. These are just a list of items to show you that, you know, what is some of the involvement. And again, like I said, I only took 15 pages out of the whole budget document. So this is a really brief review. If we wanted to get into bigger understanding of the budget, I definitely would want the CFO to come and give a presentation. So next slide.
Can I ask you a quick
Yep,
question?
absolutely.
Any of the employees under you in the Parks and Rec part of the union, or is that?
Yes, our construction staff are a union.
Okay.
Here's next slide, Mahogany. Just a few other things. The biggest thing that is a factor, and Vice Mayor BJ Wire can probably give some other explanations as this as well, but is our sales tax revenue. So right now it's relatively flat or almost going down. And so it's just all about that and our revenue that is coming in. So next slide. And these are some of the, so we presented, the directors presented to the board, some of their feedbacks, affordable housing, homelessness. You can see us, we're in there at Parks and Rec services and facility maintenance. And then ditch clearing and maintenance, that's for public works. Next slide. Again, this is what the board wanted to align their policy statement towards, and we're down under quality of life there at the bottom. You can see zoo and golf funding. Next slide. Next slide. So I wanted it might be hard to see these numbers, but in general, the Parks Department generates revenue. So Parks and Rec is one line in there, and it generates roughly 300,000 to $500,000 on a given year. Our big revenue producer is our golf course. Golf courses produces over 1.3 million in revenue. River Market is also under the umbrella of Parks and Rec. They have some revenue. And then our Jim Daly facility also has a substantial revenue of about 400,000 to 500,000, depending on the year as well. So those go into the general fund, just to give you a sense. And then there's obviously tons of other revenue forecasts. And again, this is just one slide, but just wanted to cover a little bit of what the revenue is from our standpoint. Next slide. I wanted to get into just a little bit of our staffing. So you can see here, Parks, Golf, and Fitness. We have a total of 130 full-time positions. So we already stated, Ben asked the question, do we always have 20 vacancies? We roughly do have that, and that's just turnover, retirement, people leaving, and time for us to rehire those positions. Ultimately, it would be a goal to have a much lower loss or vacancy, but it is a constant challenge for us to fill and keep those positions filled at all the time. So, but that gives you an idea of the city as a whole as well. Next slide. So through this slide in here, this is the one slide that really talks about the funding that we got. Previous years of did get 400,000 in maintenance, which was additional funds. For this year, we received $60,000 for concessions at the pro shop at our golf courses. I made a big pitch for that, as well as our senior facility. And so right now we have this new funding for our concession, which is great. It'll generate new revenue and help us at our offset some of our budget loss at our current golf course at Resmond. Next slide. This is showing our whole budget for the all the way back to 23. So there's an actual budget and there's an amended budget. I mean, so what you're seeing is there's an actual budget. So there's a proposed budget for 25, right? And then at the end of the year, they'll final it out. And what is the difference? It's all about personnel costs. It's also for this year, there was is it 1.5 or 1.75 raise for non-uniform staff. And so there's obviously a new cost there. So that factors in. But you can see what I would like to share here, just the takeaway is just the bigger numbers. Parks and Rec is over $10 million in budget. And then there's River Market, golf, and fitness. And those are all combined to be roughly $12 to $13 million. Next slide. Some of the future steps, and this is just looking ahead in 25 of what some of the recommendations or is review our existing city facilities and property, determine our needs. This could result, I mean, this was a conversation that came up about sale of property or buildings, looking at all of our assets, all of our facility maintenance, private and public partnerships. I think there's a lot of room for us in both of those categories in terms of how we maintain our existing facilities and partnerships that we need to grow. And so when it says here the CFO will bring back some recommendations, is my understanding, in Q1 of 25. And there's also been a compensation study that has not been finalized, but so obviously there's a little bit more in here from not just from Parks and Rec. I've tried to just copy out what was for the parks. Next slide. I think that might be it. Yep, questions. So any general questions? I know that's a quick overview, but again, that's just giving a general overview of the budget for 2025.
On the compensation study, is that just for Parks and Rec or is that for everybody at the city?
Yeah, that's a great question. So no, that's for everybody. So it's been an ongoing review. It's been a very, very long time since the city has completed a compensation study. So we worked through it all last year. But ultimately, my understanding is it takes capital or new dollars to really implement a lot of that. But that would be an HR and, larger discussion from others outside of myself to discuss the next steps of that.
And then on the golf, you mentioned that it had revenue, but I'm assuming that it's a net loss. I mean,
right. So it brings in 1.3, right? But
when we say, I didn't mean to interrupt, but when we talk about golf, we're talking about Resmond and First Tee?
yes.
Okay.
It's a combination. But in terms of our expenses or our budget that we have for that, it's slightly under that. But the challenge is that we're not replacing our fleet. And I mean, I could spend millions of dollars at golf currently on replacing fleet and improvements to the course. And so those are the things that are not factored into that budget. We use special project allocations for different improvements and bond money, for example, to buy new fleet. So it is essentially like a break-even item, but we need additional funds for the other improvements.
I'm going to ask a question regarding this was the operating budget. How does the capital or improvements or over and above ARPA, other things? How does that factor into this or not? Or how does that get presented?
Yeah, so it's not capital, I mean, it's not included in the budget, the operating budget, right? So it would be all additional funds, capital dollars. So it's the bond money that we had and the COVID relief or ARPA funds. Those are just all separate funds that ARPA is all ended at end of 24. We did save the money for this facility, which is still that biggest outstanding cost for that. And we're finalizing West Central. Well, not finalizing it. It's under construction now, which is one of our other big ARPA projects. But all the other community centers are all wrapping up in terms of those funds. And then there are ongoing bond funds, which we've reported out on previously and could do another report, but they're different from this budget, I guess you could say.
Ms. Wyrick, how do you all as a board look at that then? I mean, if you're doing an operating, how often do you all refresh both together? Are they always separate, or how does that work? Just for someone who doesn't attend the meetings?
Yeah, what Leland is really addressing is our operating funds for the city. And as you can see, it was balanced between what we think our expenditures are and what our revenue we expect to bring in from sales tax, utility money that comes in. I'm trying to think what else we get as
The finance or the
Property tax.
franchise
property
fees.
tax. Yeah, franchise fees.
Right.
I couldn't think of franchise fees when I said utility. So that's basically what it costs to keep the city going. And you ask about union employees, and a big part of our cost goes to police and fire. And then their contracts were up this year, and the police got a 5% increase contractually. That's what was negotiated, and that's what they got. And then the fire department also is going to get a 5%. Now there's some sort of disagreement on the contract. It's not really been finalized, but that was the offer, was 5%. So when you look at those numbers, it takes a lot out of our operating budget. But I think we all agree that we need police and fire. I mean, if you watch the TVs and you see what's going on in California with the wildfires, you understand how important our fire department is. And both of those groups need capital dollars for equipment, fire trucks, cars, and that kind of thing. In regards to the Parks Department, we had pretty good discussion about golf and a hole that needs to be replaced along the Arkansas River. And I think we did fund that, didn't we, Leland?
Right, so that kind of goes full circle back to your original question. So we funded that, and I stated that is out of the bond money. So actually, out of the bond money, I took $1.5 million out of bond and allocated it to golf for fleet, the hole that we're
We
referring
talked
to as
about
hole 13.
funding the pro shop in regards to being able to have items that we can sell.
Right,
And
merchant.
we
so
really
that-
discussed the money going back into replenishing and
That's correct.
possibly privatizing, but I don't think we got to that. There was an allocation for that to happen. So, but the capital expenditures are a different story, and they're always separated because they're funded in different ways. Bond issues, sales tax, and then the ARPA funding. And do we have any ARPA funding left for parks?
No, that's, we're spending the last bit at West Central currently, and then we have 3 million that's been set aside for this facility, which is to.
You probably said that, but I'm having a little trouble hearing.
That's okay, that's okay.
The acoustics in this room is not perfect. So anyway, that's the way we've always looked at it. And as you know, we tried to do a sales tax We did a sales tax initiative that came up in the general election, and it was turned down. And I guess there probably were a lot of reasons why. One of them is the economy. So I don't know what the mayor's plans are to go forward with that, but honestly, in order to move the city to the next step, there's going to have to be some sort of revenue that's going to come in and fund things. And the park system was a big piece of that sales tax. I mean, there was money to Hyndman, there was money for event centers, 2 event centers. So it was a comprehensive package that would have impacted the parks. So we'll have to work on that. I guess gain confidence from the citizens. Hopefully the economy will do better than what we're projecting it. We're saying status quo. But any additional dollars in this budget have basically gone to salaries for police and fire. Probably said more than what you wanted to know, but
I don't mind thorough responses. That's wonderful. The only reason I was asking about the bond or the separate capital is for Parks and Rec, if we're developing a new, this building, right, it's getting redeveloped, there's going to be new staff and things that impact the operating budgets. I didn't know how that, I don't know if all the different departments are that way, but Parks and Rec, especially when they're adding things to a park or expanding a park, there's more operating costs that go with that. So I didn't know how that gets balanced by you guys.
and I don't know that that was projected into the budget, was it, Leland?
So if you recall, I gave a presentation on the senior facility and requested funds for staffing and operation of the senior facility. That was not budgeted for 2025. However, we have not finalized our bidding for the project, and I believe the situation is that by the time we actually have the facility up and running, the goal would actually be is to budget all that for 26. We will have operation and some staffing because this facility is already budgeted, and this is the facility for the senior facility. So we're working towards that.
2026?
I'm sorry.
Do you think that those costs would hit in 2026?
They will. The reason I presented it in for 2025 was I was hopeful that we could fill out our staff and go on and hire
Right.
or the staffing for the senior facility so that they could already be here and be ready. But I understand budgets are what they are, and we're moving forward and we're working that out. I want to clarify one thing. I don't know if anybody picked up, but Vice Mayor brought up privatizing the golf courses. That is just a concept right now that we're looking into that we haven't even started yet. But back to some of the presentation there where we're looking at how do we private partnership different things or whatever that is. There's just been, the board brought that up in one of the hearings, was to look at what are some different opportunities for the golf. And so just if somebody was watching this or listening, just to help clarify that process hasn't started and it's only a consideration at this point.
A lot of discussion about parks. It's just, you only have so much money, and it's got to be stretched across the whole city.
Well, if there aren't any other questions on the budget, I know that was quick, but the whole budget document for 2024 is online. The 2025 will be online, I'm sure soon. I encourage everybody to go look at those, and you can come up with a lot more questions. I'll move on to the next item on my agenda, which you all had asked for us to present on a kind of a year in review highlights. Brittany, who you all knew, has recently left, but she was able to make this at the very end. And I'll just go through this relatively quickly. I think y'all have seen a majority of this throughout the year. But this just kind of gives us a little bit, there's a lot of stuff in here. You can't capture a whole year of what we do in one document and in a 5-minute presentation. But we'll just flip through these real quick, and we can make this document available to everybody as well. Just starting off, so branding was a really big thing for us. Brittany was new to our office, and we hadn't had communications person in our office, and so she focused a whole lot on getting us focused on branding. Next slide. So we looked at, she reworked our logo, she worked on our website, all that's covered in here, worked on all of our social media, getting all of our brand information out there and all the same. And it's still going to be an ongoing process, but she got us really headed in the right direction. Next slide. This is just one of her big slides that she made. We use this all over. Next slide. So a lot of these are different flyers from volunteer events or from Shawanda's programs, all different things. Golf's up there. We started outdoor recreation as well, all kinds of different flyers, but she just put a kind of a professional touch to them all. Next slide. I'm excited about up top left is our new Parks trailer. We've just finalized that, so you'll see that at our up and coming events, some of our trail signage, park signage, even down to coffee cups and different branding. And we got a new tent that's coming in as well. This is all just because we have a story to tell and we have to really brand what we're selling. And we want people to realize that they're participating in a City of Little Rock event or a program from Parks and Rec. Next. More just cool stuff. Next slide. So then now we get into a little bit of events. That's Director Lance Hines and I. That was actually out at a volunteer event at Rock Creek, our Jim Daly event, Bull Park. So we had a ton of events in 2024. I never thought I'd be in front of the camera or microphone as much as I've ever been. It mainly focused a lot around the sales tax, but we also had a lot of great events. Next slide. I was left picture there is of Pankey, and then I believe the other one might be Logan's Run, which was a new run we started down the therapeutic recreation started down at Murray Park. Next slide. This gives you a little sense of all of our, like a timeline of all the different events that we either partnered with the group or were heavily involved. I'm not going to read all of them, but you can just get a sense of kind of the bigger things that took up a lot of our time and we were happy to be a part of. Next slide. A lot of ribbon cuttings, which is great with using ARPA funds and bond funds. Next slide. Some other events, don't forget about the eclipse. I mean, it seems like that was a long time ago, but that was a big event. Top left was at Dunbar Community Center. We were able to do, what was that called? The planetarium, right? At Dunbar for the eclipse. Bottom right, I believe that's one of our presentations for Reservoir Park, or what we're doing master plan. So we do a lot of community input. We did a lot of different meetings, just getting community input and doing pop-ups to make sure that the community was aware of projects that we were about to start or in the middle of, to answer questions, get community feedback. Next slide. One of our bigger projects that we accomplished this past year was Jim Daly Fitness. Got a lot of heat kind of at the beginning when we had to shut down the indoor pool, but we were able to redesign it and get it back open and had a successful event in September of this last year. So excited to see that has been completed and is working out well. Next slide. There's a little bit of our online presence. Obviously, this is from Brittany's point of view, so this is a lot of what she was doing. But, she grew our Facebook. When I first started as director, I think we had 6,000 people following us. And she had a goal of getting it, I think, collectively had a goal to double that, and I think we're at 11,800 or something. So in 1 year, for her to be able to double our capacity just online is huge. But we have to keep pushing that forward. Next slide. This is where she's talking a little bit about our website. We've come a long way on our website. I wish we could do a lot more with our website. It's just another area that takes a lot of effort to change. We are going online with a lot of new things this year. We're trying to do, not trying, Angela could speak to this. We're doing pavilion rentals now online. So we're trying to do a lot more online reservations and setups through our active network so that people will visit our website and be able to do that and not have to always just call our front desk. Next. I might have gone back to the beginning or backwards. These are a few highlighted projects. Top left is our Riverfront Treehouse. I'm really proud of our staff. We were able to design and build this addition to the treehouse. We originally worked with Polk Stanley on the bigger aspect of it, which was a great partnership, but we were able to add this to make a larger part of it accessible, but also it's like another treehouse in the trees. If you haven't experienced that down in Riverfront Park, I highly recommend it. The other one is we've been working down at River Mountain Park on the Little Maumelle River and developing a boat access there for small craft. There's obviously a big boat ramp for boats, motorboats. This now allows us to have a small craft, and we have a outdoor vendor down there, Rocktown, that provides services down there. We know somebody here that could speak to that more, but we have bigger goals down there. We want to build more down there, but we are transitioning the area to something better as we have the funding to do it. And then Pankey Park, as I mentioned earlier, that was another big project that we redeveloped the whole park there in West Little Rock. Next slide. A little bit about community engagement, kind of the same as some of our other events, but I believe down bottom left is at Murray Park is Keep Little Rock, Keep Arkansas, a beautiful cleanup. Karen probably could correct me on some aspects of that. Is that right, Karen? That's correct. So there's some other, our outdoor recreation, Heineman, I believe that is, where we did some community input. We did 3 different community engagement sessions. Next slide. Reservoir Park, not to mention 23 of the tornado, but so Reservoir Park, we've worked really hard in 24 to get it back up and going. And that's part of the master plan there of Reservoir Park. And we are, I think we have finalized all the debris removal and fixed everything that we could fix. And now it's putting back all the new things. And we're excited to be able to do those new items this year in 25. Next slide. This is just finalizing a little bit of some more community engagement. Brittany was able to go to one of our groups there and give a presentation on Little Rock Parks and Recreation. We did that quite a bit, had a lot of different presentations to different groups. Some of it was based around sales tax, but some of it was just answering questions. I believe that might be it. Mahogany, is that it? Next slide. A little bit of our timeline of some of those events. Next slide. A little bit of media coverage, not to mention the tree, Christmas tree, which is very timely. We just took down the Christmas tree. So that's down at the 5th and Main Street. So we work with Downtown Partnership and park staff put the tree up. But we just had a lot of media coverage this year, which was really good for us. Next slide. A little bit more of that. Some of the projects that I've already mentioned, Jim Daly, some improvements in Riverfront. I think that kind of wraps it up.
This is very, very well done. Would love to try to share this. I don't know if the board would love to see this, but I don't know if we can email this to the board and everyone is here on the commission, because that's really well done by Brittany. So
Appreciate that. Yeah, I think we were speaking earlier in the master plan committee about this commission does need to present to the board at some point. So maybe during that presentation, there could be something similar to that. But anyway, if there are any other questions on just looking back at 2024,
Is it Kiwanis Park? Is that
that's right. Oh, man.
Is that
Good question.
I think I drove by there the other day and like the parking lot's blocked off. Is that about to open? Or
It is about to open. So Kiwanis was one of our third bond projects. So out of the three big bond projects that we had in 24 is Boyle, Pankey, and Kiwanis. You didn't see Kiwanis in there because Kiwanis, the playground's completed, and the trail is completed, but we haven't finalized all the side amenities and just all the little details. The vendor that was supplying the side amenities, I think there's some kind of scheduling conflict of them getting them here, but our goal is to finalize that. I know if Director Lewis was here, she'd be asking about that too. So anyway,
great.
good catch. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Leland. Okay, I don't think we have any presentations this month, so we're gonna move into unfinished business. Kind of want to go through subcommittee reports. I think JT, you were leading the master plan. Any comments or about that you?
I'll just be brief. I mean, we're still trying to get a handle and figure out exactly where we want to fit in the timeline of, budget and future plans that the department has. But I think we're getting a better handle of it. We are going to go ahead and have a standing meeting 1 hour prior, Mahogany. So we're going to meet every time this commission meets, we're going to meet an hour prior, standing meeting. So that way, we'll just do the notices at the same time and we'll just use that time to our best abilities. That's pretty much it.
Marketing, Quentin, do you guys have anything?
No, I did do an exit interview with Brittany, just from our point of view, and she gave me a lot of good ideas and things that we need to work on in 2025. I think, as Leland showed us with that great presentation, is that we need to fill that position if we can with a good person, because that got us a lot of media coverage. It put us out in the paper. It just really opens up Parks and Rec for other people to bring in new ideas might not have thought of. So, yeah, so I've worked with Brittany, and I look forward to working with the new person in this year.
Great, thanks. Sam, anything on Conservancy?
Nothing new to report. We will be setting up a meeting here when we can get a chance to
Yeah,
get some dates picked.
I'm on that subcommittee. Maybe we can all sit down at some point, maybe with Leland, just to kind of give us an update on the Parks Conservancy. I know there's been a lot of opportunity there, but at the same time, I know there's been some transition with people that are on the Conservancy. Maybe we can try to meet maybe the same time. I would rather meet when we meet now. So I'll get an email sent out to everyone in the subcommittee, including Mahogany and Leland. So,
Great.
okay.
I just ask that you notify the press and all of that. I know that Mahogany's on that, so we'll be thinking.
Of course. Thank you. I don't think we really need to talk about the post-sales tax. I think we've gone over that the past couple of months. Commission ideas, goals for 2025. I kind of put together, a couple of ideas that I kind of had in mind. I would like to try to get this commission to meet, on a quarterly basis and meet maybe at some of the community centers or parks, just to first learn about that asset of Little Rock Parks, and second, just to meet beyond, 12 o'clock at every month on a Wednesday. So that was kind of a big idea I kind of had that would love to maybe, I don't know what the procedure is, Simone, but maybe just would have to send out dates, or how would that work, to date and times?
You're wanting to, sorry, there were multiple parts of that. You're wanting to, and first part I kind of missed, but the second part was that you're wanting to extend the time of what you're meeting now, or?
I think that's another discussion, but I think I have an idea. I would love to try to meet 4 times a year. Not that doesn't include this monthly meeting, that we can meet at some other parts and community centers just to educate us on what they do. We hear about it all the time, but as far as actually seeing it and touching it. So if I was planning on just putting together 4 dates for this year, each quarter, and just sending it out, I'm assuming we have to notify the press as usual as all that.
Yes, it would still be a meeting. Anytime we have more than one commissioner with another commissioner.
Does it need to be voted on as far as meeting, or?
I would do that just to be on the safe side. So if you have your list of dates, we could discuss that now. If you wanted to, we could do it at the next meeting with the dates and.
Yeah, we'll just do it. I don't have a list of dates, but maybe next meeting we can vote on the dates. And I can send out the dates beforehand so we have an idea what it looks like. But I think that's something that I would like to try to do, just to kind of get a little more fellowship beyond these monthly meetings. But anyone other have any burning desires or goals for this year? You know, this department does a lot with a little when it comes to finance and money. So is there anything else you guys want to think about or talk about? Please let us know throughout the year or so.
I have a comment, if I may.
Yeah.
In the bylaws, it states that this board needs to give a report out, an annual report. So I would like to encourage the commission to go on and decide when that is going to be and how that's going to be developed. And then I would be able to work with the board to make time on the agenda to figure out when you can come present it.
Yeah.
They need to see that presentation
Yeah.
that you did today. That shows all the highlights of the parks and what's happened through the year, because we don't always hear about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty cool. I think it was a great presentation, and I'd like for y'all to do that at the board level.
So if I may say, maybe it's a beginning of the year type report and then a end of the year.
Yeah. Okay.
And the end of the year would be more based around, maybe not truly the end of the year, but advising on the budget for the Parks Department.
See, one of the reasons I'm here today is because I'm hearing from my constituents about some parks that are not being addressed or taken care of. And so, we go through the year and then we get to the end of the year and Leland and other directors come and say, well, I've got this problem with hole 13, at the golf course, or I can't keep the pro shop open. I don't have enough money to keep that going. It's great if we can have information throughout the year. So when we get to the end of the year, we kind of know what we're looking at instead of being, hit at the end of the year. And then we look at what the mayor presents forward. And so we don't have that inherent knowledge to understand what he's doing, understand what you're doing. I just think it's real important that this commission keeps in touch with the board with reports.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we have to vote today on what do we need to put together a report first. I'm assuming beyond what you just showed us as far as the annual report, what would you recommend?
I think the presentation I just gave would be great, but at the same time, I think it's upon this board to figure out a way to develop a report based off of your information. I don't want it to be just another report from myself.
Yeah, true.
I want to try to make sure that it's from the commission. So I'm happy to help and staff can be a part of that or however y'all see it fit, but I'll leave it to y'all to make that decision.
I always get muddy on emails and whatnot and meetings, but to me, the easiest thing would be, could I start on it and email it out and people can send it on like a Google Word and the commissioners can make tweets to it? Or do we have to meet to,
It's complicated. So it would probably be best if you went ahead and started the document however you wanted to, and then we send it to Mahogany. She can send it out, and then at the next meeting, everybody get together, and then we can discuss our comments and edits, and then we can kind of go from there. If
Okay.
you guys want, I think you could even, if you can make the edits live time, I don't want to speak out of turn because I do want to do a bit of research before I tell you this for sure. But I think you could even say, yes, this is what we want to do and vote on it at that point in time, if you guys are all in agreement. But I will confirm that and have a definite answer for you next week.
okay. Okay.
And then Ben,
Um,
when do you plan to get your edits to us? Like a week in advance or 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to do it, a week in advance of the Nets Park Commission. I'll just kind of review the minutes and I've made notes at every meeting and I'll review that and I don't want it to be too detailed. Maybe I'll put together like a page and a half.
Yeah, and
Keep
the
it
only-
simple.
The only thing I would add too is I think you talked about the summer program, but I think this commission was really impressed
Yeah.
with how the summer program ran this year. And I think we need to emphasize that to the board because, I mean, we asked a lot of questions. We got a lot of great answers. I think Shawanda did a great job. So I'm going to emphasize that.
Okay. Yes.
Sorry. Just as Commissioner Whiteside just did, if anyone else has any suggestions, this would be a prime time to get them there. We'll make your live and edits in real time next month, much smoother and faster process.
Okay. Any other comments for the review?
I think the capital updates that you guys have given us a few times have really been good. Like on, here's the outcome from Boyle Park or the outcome from Yankee or whatever. I mean, I think those are good just to highlight. And I think they were like a picture, but to sort of show, here's the dollars that were impacted. Same thing that you guys did at Dunbar. Or you noted, hey, we just spent $500,000 on the roof, but we identified, what was it, $8 million worth of maintenance that needed to be done at that facility to keep it up to date. Just some things like that.
Sure.
And then also, what about emphasizing Canis Park? I didn't see a lot. I mean, it was going pretty fast, so I couldn't read it all, but I thought that was a big deal, with the basketball courts and the pickleball courts and all the usage of all that. I mean, that thing's slammed.
Well, and it-
If you don't drive by there, you would never know it. So
That was a multi-year project that I think sort of shows you guys having a vision, and it got implemented over time as funds were available. And I think that's a good highlight as well. Because didn't it start with
Canis
this?
Park, wasn't that funded by some grants that you put together?
There was a grant involved in that from the federal government. It was for FEMA for emergency management because we replaced the roadway into the park. If you recall, whenever it would rain, the fire department would go by there and close the gate. I know Mike, who goes there every day, is probably very thankful that it's open now. We built a bridge over the creek, and so now you don't have to drive through. So that's from a emergency standpoint as well as a sustainability standpoint. So that was the funding. The rest of the park is what you might be recalling too, is the playground, the skate park, and both of those had grants. And then the pickleball group helped raise funds for the lights for the pickleball. So it's a real melting pot of diversity of different user groups, but also funding mechanisms. So
That tells a story too. I mean, that's
All
a
right.
big story.
Sorry. We're about 5 minutes from 1. We'd like to, I know we say this every time, but maybe this is a good time to talk about sending parts and maybe try to vote on it. I mean, selfishly, I would rather start earlier, 11:45 and end at 1 as opposed to extending beyond 1. I just got, first I've got meetings that usually start at 1:30 like today. I have to probably leave at 1:15 usually. So I'm just going to go ahead and vote and say, can we put a vote to start meetings at 11:45 now? Because because it takes time. If you get here at noon, you got to get lunch, and sometimes we don't start on time. So I think giving a 15-minute buffer, at least to start, will maybe help us end at 1. Can I just put it to a vote, Simone, for 11:45 start going forward?
You can go ahead.
Huh?
11:45.
you okay? I'm sorry, I probably should. All right. Start the meeting at 11:45 instead of noon.
Start the meeting at 11:45. We currently start the meeting at 12. So it's 15 minutes earlier.
Is that, I'm sorry, I should have talked to you, Mahogany, first. As far as lunch and getting everything ready, I didn't think about that. I'm sorry. Okay. Uh, Okay. Um, is there a reason? Because of lunch or? Oh, okay.
I could address that now just as a part of your decision making here. So as I've discussed it several times, this facility is about to close because of the senior construction. It's still a few months away, depending on successful bids and all that good stuff. So we don't have to make a final decision now, but I like to not make it at the last minute. And so point is that at some point, we will not be meeting at this room anymore. The other commissions, the board, everybody's moved on. And so we've kind of held out because this is our facility. That being said, we need to find a new facility to be relocated. One of the easiest ones for staff and for us would be to move to the boardroom at City Hall. However, that creates a few other challenges. It's a little bit harder for general public to get there, right? Just because of the nuances of the building. But the bigger challenge that Mahogany have found out, and maybe there's a way around it, is the lunch that we all enjoy. And there's not this table set up there. Yes, a majority of y'all would be able to sit where the board sits. So we could figure out some of those nuances, but those are challenges. And so we could move to another community center. We've utilized Southwest Community Center before as well. Anyway, I open that up for discussion to say, ultimately, you need to figure out another location. And then that even takes it as far as, because I brought up the idea around lunch, is that we don't always have to be around lunch, and then we wouldn't have to do the lunch hour and all that. But again, this is all for y'all to vote on, and I can provide you different locations and different options. So
What's the latest we need to vote on it?
come again.
What's the latest we need to vote on it?
I think we need to be able to be out of here, plan our meeting in April needs to be in another location.
Why don't you get us some options for location, and let's table this extended time discussion until we get those.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll have them presented next meeting in a written document, locations and options and stuff.
Okay. The new business, is there approved budget review? We've done that already?
I would say that the presentation I gave was a budget review.
Okay. So do you want to just move on to agenda items for next meeting? I think we've kind of gone over a couple that we want to continue to talk about for next month, including the year in review report, as well as potential meeting at other places. Anything else for the agenda for next month?
I would suggest that in your report, because I would like to be able to give the presentation that you just saw, if that's going to be part of it. If I'm going to be a part of it, that's
Yeah.
up to you. But, no later than say March, because I think if you go much farther than that, it's too late. So I think you really need to be able to have it on the agenda to finalize whatever the direction is in February. And then I can make the request to
Okay.
do it either late February or early March.
Can can you, on our behalf, put something forward to the city board just saying we're going to have a presentation in February, like towards the end of
Sure,
February?
I can
We
definitely
just
do that.
front run it, right?
Yeah.
Like we're going to have something finalized to be able to present.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, Ben and I did meet, and had, you know, a small meeting about goals, and I don't know if you were gonna share some of that, or do you want to discuss that next?
I think we'll probably just discuss that next time. I kind of talked about it a little bit in unfinished business about commission ideas and goals, but maybe we can table that to next business. So I think extending or starting early for these meetings might be better because it seems like we do this every month, which is a good thing because we're talking and not just being silent. So,
I'd like to share one more. Apologize that we had to move the meeting to this week, but we had a mayor's retreat for all the directors that conflicted last week. So appreciate everybody being able to come today to the meeting.
Vice Mayor Wyatt, do you have anything for board liaison or
I'm actually not the liaison.
do you have anything you want to talk about anything?
It's still Kathy.
You know what I meant.
Andrea, and I'm just excited about the work that you guys are doing, like to know more about it. As I've said, I've had constituents that have talked to me about Hyndman Park, and if you've ever been out there, you know it's an iconic park and it has lots of potential and possibilities. And then they see Canis Park, you know, is getting all this new stuff. So where's Hyndman in the mix of things? And I say, well, there were some grants put together and, you know, that's how that happened. Well, how come we don't have grants for Hyndman? You know, so since I'm not intimately involved with you all, and maybe I hear about things every once in a while, I just wanted to come and get caught up with the work you're doing. Beautiful presentation of what happened last year. Excited about what's going to happen in the next year. And that's really the reason I'm here.
Thank you for being here.
I'd like to address that one. Hyman does have a lot of things going on, just maybe not everybody is aware. And there's actually one of the largest grants that we've ever received is in Hyndman of over $3 million. So maybe it's just an opportunity that we come and present at one of the neighborhood meetings and listen to some of the concerns and give some more feedback. So
one of the things that's going on is the people that are participating in Hyndman are not always the best folks. They're shooting guns and
right.
doing things like that. So from a community standpoint, I think if there's more activity, then that would keep the bad guys out. And I know it's locked up at night, but on the weekends it's open. I've had several reports of gunshots. Actually seen people with rifles in their hands, you know, this kind of thing. So, you know, I just have concerns about the inappropriate things going on in the park. And if there's more going on, then that would eliminate some of the bad things that are happening. I mean, it was every Sunday. I think it was during deer season or squirrel season. I don't know which one. We had individuals with long rifles in the park. So anyway, that's why I'm here. I just want to be able to say from my own standpoint, this is what we're doing. This is where we are. This is where we're going and that kind of thing. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you. I think with that, we'll end the meeting. And I know I did this a couple of times last year, but I'll try to send a recap this week so it's all fresh in our minds of what to talk about for next month. But thank you all for being here.
Steve, what's going on at First Steve? It's just